Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we talk about all things good in the pursuit of the adventure of life. I am Rafe, and it's a great Tuesday because it's a podcast Tuesday. It's a Bufnagle podcast Tuesday, and we are here with the Bufnagle goodness you deserve. Remember, since you guys are the world's greatest listeners, you have made us a global top 10% podcast. You can reach us as usual at bufnagle@bufnagle.com. Share the love, share the buff. Give us a 5-star review, hit subscribe, like, smiley star, all those things. Tell a friend to listen, and you will get a free episode. And if you look in the show notes and dig carefully, you will find a link there to buy me a coffee or whatever else you want to send me. Click the link and send some things my way. There are some things I've been thinking about, I've seen and read and thought about, and I'm not exactly sure where this episode will be going, but there are some, like I said, there's some things on my mind here, so I'm going to say them. So here goes. The picture I saw was one of a lady amidst a teeming crowd standing in the plaza just west of the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. In a sweater and a long skirt blown playfully by the wind, she stood in a tourist's hat with a bag over her shoulder. Her back was to the camera, a hand on her hip. She stood gazing up at the cathedral, her frame dwarfed by the facade, all the saints carved into the stone, the large circular windows shimmering in a radiant rainbow of color, the bell towers made famous in Victor Hugo's novel, standing as twin sentinels, anchoring the building to the island in the Seine, in the center of the city of Paris. The caption for the picture was purposefully ironic and particularly snarky, saying something along the lines of, I love watching rich, secular, enlightened, current-day, world-traveling modernists stand frozen in the wonder of beautiful, century-old buildings crafted and created by uneducated, faithful, poverty-stricken, hand-tool-wielding medieval peasants. Of course, we don't really know if this woman met all these criteria. This was on one of those social media things. For all we know, both of those were AI generated. We don't know if this woman met these criteria, but this was a digital photograph. She was certainly in the modern day. And also certainly not everyone in ancient times was uneducated, nor faithful, nor poverty-stricken. But those who initially built Notre Dame did live in medieval times, as the cathedral was begun in 1163 and largely complete by 1260. Buildings like Notre Dame in Paris are present all over Europe and other older parts of the world. If you've been listening to The Buff for a while now, you will recall many travel logs that we've laid out of places and ancient wonders that we have seen over the last several years. These grand wonders of the past, most often present to the Buff team as churches related to European Christendom, they truly evoke joy and wonder from visitors from around the globe as they show the grandeur, long-range vision, and impressive seriousness of a bygone age. We are barbarians living in the ruins of a once great civilization, goes another similar quote. Indeed, our culture, certainly here in parts of the U.S., specifically, but also manifested in our Canadian and Mexican and other North American neighbors, and in some parts of Europe, our neighbors in Europe, and elsewhere around the globe. Our culture seems to have fractured and splintered It seems to have become coarse and hardened, and we seem to have lost our purpose, our identity, our direction, our charge. We eat bad food. We dress like slobs. We are disrespectful of our ancestors and our authorities. We mortgage our future generations. Our youth language in vapid, empty online lives of mindless screen-scrolling searches for an ever-elusive dopamine rush drawn out by cat videos, social media influencers, celebrity highlight reels, or pornography. Our music is noise. Our art is disturbing. Our architecture is a universal sterile petri dish attempt to convince us that ugly, flat, boring, straight lines in a variety of grays is somehow beautiful. Our language is devolving back to pictograms through emojis and ambiguous vague text messages and their abbreviations. Heaven forbid we should be forced to say something like, "That was funny!" exclamation point in 15 characters, when our precious time could be greatly conserved if we would just simply say, LOL. Our kids can't read. Computers do math for them, read books for them, write reports on those books for them, and grade the reports that other computers have written. Our politicians are corrupt. Our press is corrupter. And we can't take the time to care lest we run out of time to binge the latest series on Netflix. I could go on. Here's my unpopular opinion. This ain't human flourishing. Now, at this point, you may be saying, "Wow, Rafe, that got pretty dark." For the buff, that is not the kind of thing we typically talk about. Are you okay? And the answer is, yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. These are things I see. These are some things that I think. But the question is, what do we do from that? What do we ask? How do we answer? And what do we go forward? What has happened? How did we get here? How do we go back? Should we go back? Is back the answer? What will the future hold? Well, should we go back? Let me say unequivocally, I think the answer is no. We should not go back. Basically, because we can't go back. There's no back. Things have changed. Things are different. We have new problems than our ancestors had. They have similar sources, but they are different. They are new. Going back is like asking if we can turn gravity upside down somehow. We just can't do it, so it's a foolish thing to think about. The past was not without its problems, okay? And some of those problems have been addressed, and there are certainly things that are improving here. When Notre Dame was begun in in the 1100s, the whole world was swimming in a miasma of the concept of slavery, for example. Nearly everyone thought that some people had the right to own the outcome of labors of others, and they had the right, under force and under gruesome penalties, to make those people whose work they wanted to own, to make them do the work. This is not good. We do not want to go back to that. Some people, just on the basis of their female sex, were forbidden to do perfectly legitimate things, like read and study, go to school, own businesses, that sort of thing. They wanted to do these things, and they were forbidden. This is not good. Not good at all. Some people thought they had the right to force other people what to believe. Not good. And certainly not good to fight a war over that. There were bad diseases that killed lots of people. Look up things like plague. People didn't know about things like hand washing. Not good. We've learned. Think of how far we've come just with soap. If you wanted to travel, you had to walk or ride an animal. That can be contemplative, I understand. And sometimes you get to see all the things on the ground when you're doing that. But it's hard to get, for example, from Indiana to, Alsace without an airplane. You can do it on a boat if you've got like several months. There were no planes, there were no trains, there were no cars. Wind and fire of wood or coal were typically what we used. You most likely live currently a better life now than the kings and emperors just a century ago. The richest man in the world 100 years ago only owned his own freight car or train car for traveling. They would hook it up to, he could get the railroads to make his train the only one on the track, so he could get to where he wanted to go. But he had to ride. He'd ride that way. They didn't have refrigeration. Antibiotics were not there. You live a very good life right now, but not everything's perfect. Not everything is bad. Indeed, there are some good stories being played out in real time now. If you look for them, a post I read recently about a new basilica being built in Barcelona tells one such story. A man named Akash Gupta posted essentially this story on the Twitter machine recently. The story goes like this. If you pitched this story as a screenplay, every studio would reject it for being too on the nose. A 73-year-old architect walks to confession in 1926 and gets hit by a tram on the Gran Via in Barcelona. He's mistaken for a vagrant because of his worn clothes and is left at a pauper's hospital. He dies 3 days later. His name is Antoni Gaudi. The cathedral he leaves behind is less than a quarter complete. The plans to finish it sit in his workshop in the form of plaster models and detailed drawings. 10 years after his death in July of 1936, during the Spanish Civil War, anarchists break into his workshop. They smash the plaster models. They burn the archive of drawings and calculations. They pry open his tomb. For the next 50 years, architects pieced together a destroyed playbook from photographs and broken plaster fragments. The geometry of his vision was the real problem. Gaudi designed the church using upside-down hanging chain models because the math for hyperpoloid intersections did not yet exist on paper. He had solved his problems physically. Computers finally caught up to his techniques in the 1980s. By 2010, the project was half complete. By 2015, stone elements that took months to hand carve were now being modeled digitally and machine cut in simply days. Now comes the kicker. The building is funded entirely by people paying admission to see the scaffolding. 134.5 million euros of income in 2025, all of it privately donated, none of it from Spanish state or from the Vatican. 4.7 million tourists a year buying 26 euro tickets to watch a cathedral get built. The unfinished state was the product. On June 10th, 2026, exactly 100 years to the day after Gaudi died, the cross will go up on the Tower of Jesus Christ, 144 years from groundbreaking, 172.5 meters tall, the tallest church building in the world, beating Ulm Minster, which took 513 years to build. When the architect was asked why his project took so long, Gaudi said one thing: "My client is not in a hurry." And it turns out that neither was he. That's the story I read. If you're following these sorts of things, this is making some news. It's getting people are getting excited. It's the tallest church building in the world now. The cross is actually up on that tower, and it will be dedicated on the 10th of June. I'm sure you'll see some. If you watch these things, you'll see news on that in about a month. This Holy Family Church, Gaudi's Sagrada Familia Church. It's a modern mix of Gothic and curvilinear Art Nouveau style. It's a product of its time. Originally designed in the 1880s. Gaudi was taking the reins up until when he died in 26. Judging from the pictures, I can't say it's my favorite style. It is a different style. From a distance, the design to me feels almost overly organic, almost like it was built by bees or termites or some other social insects. Salvador Dali's work strikes me as similar kinds of things, but they were in similar times, so I don't find that surprising. But bees and termites, maybe that was the intent. Okay, is man not a very large social insect? Perhaps he is. The church has been under construction for well over 100 years. It is being privately funded by donations and tours. People pay money just to tour a construction site. This building is a remarkable testament to commitment to a vision. In fact, all of these great pieces of work are testaments to a commitment to a vision. They wouldn't be here if they weren't committed to it. I'm sure there were ones that were started and never finished because there was no commitment to the vision. The German poet Heinrich Heine lived in Germany in the first half of the 1800s. He is known, among other things, for his ironically prescient statement, "Where they burn books, they will ultimately burn people too." He was once asked why men no longer build great cathedrals. He said, "People in those old times had convictions. We moderns only have opinions, and it needs more than a mere opinion to erect a Gothic cathedral." A conviction is a strongly held persuasion or belief. Conviction comes from convictus. The victus piece has the same root as victory. Therefore, if I convict you, I win the argument. So what is belief? Is belief just thinking that something is true, or is there more to belief than just thinking it's true? I think that belief requires action to really be belief. I can say I believe in free speech, for example, but how will I behave? What will I do when someone expresses an opinion that I dislike? What would my behavior look like if I believed that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone? Or if I believed in aliens? Or if I believed in angels? Or if I believed in God? Or I believed in transubstantiation? Or if I believed that all people were created as unique manifestations of Imago Dei, the image and likeness of God. A conviction as a strong belief must manifest itself in action. And those men who built the great Gothic cathedrals demonstrated that belief in how they spent their energy, how they spent their money, how they spent their very lives. Why would you put details into a painting on the ceiling of a cathedral where no one will ever see it? Why would you spend hours and weeks and years and even decades collecting data on planetary movements in the heavens? Why would you fight your own brothers in a war to eliminate the scourge of slavery? You would do that because God will see the painting on the ceiling and you believe in God. You would do that because God created a universe that is not random and haphazard, but rather a universe that is ordered and follows from the Logos. And if we can better understand the universe, we can better understand the mind of God. If you believe that, that is what you will do. And you will do that because if you believe that all people are in the image and likeness of God, then slavery is an affront to God himself, and we must not let injustice stand. Conviction, strong belief, built the great civilizations because conviction, strong belief, results in action. No great cathedrals get built by sharing a smiley star on celebrities' social media posts. No understanding of the logos comes from forwarding a video of a cat riding a Roomba. Civilizations are hampered and constantly fettered by looking the other way when injustice plagues your neighbor, regardless of the color of his skin, or his station in life, or his pocketbook balance, or his IQ, or what have you. We don't want to go back. We want to go forward in conviction toward a culture that fosters the value of each individual, that promotes the virtues that lead to flourishing, that leads to the transcendental qualities of truth, beauty, and goodness. Another post I read said that we modern men are in a terrible predicament. We're enamored with the beauty of what the old world built, but we hate the beliefs that inspired the old world to build it. Why should we hate the old world beliefs? What would believing them cost you? What is it that you believe? What do you do when injustice looms? What drives how you make decisions? What do you stand for? What will you leave behind? Will it last 800 years? Will people pay to see it then? Would people pay to watch you and your children and your grandchildren build it now and in the years to come? Imagine what we could accomplish with the technology of today, but with the beliefs, the convictions of our ancestors. What glorious civilization could we leave behind for our children and our children's children, down to the 1,000th generation? Here's a place to start. Believe in truth, believe in beauty, and believe in goodness. Convict yourself of them, and then go live what you believe. And always remember, seek the good, live virtuously, and flourish, and enjoy the adventure of life.
It's going to be a great day.